Hello there, Mr. Lee here, and welcome to the House of the Wooden Partition. The House of the Wooden Partition is in Herculaneum, so let's just work out where that is. On the screen there, you can currently see the area that's called the Bay of Naples. This is the Bay of Naples here, with the modern city of Naples, Herculaneum just here, and the city or town of Pompeii just here. Herculaneum, where the House of the Wooden Partition is just where that label is, but just off it. So this is the archaeological site of Herculaneum, which is set back from the shore. If I zoom that back out again, that's the modern shoreline, but Herculaneum in antiquity actually is on the shore itself. So this is the ancient shoreline just here. Not the whole site's excavated, so thankfully the House of the Wooden Partition is in a part of the site that is excavated. This, where I'm pointing at, is where the House of the Wooden Partition is. It's on the seaward side of town. As I say, it's pretty much just a block away from the sea, and this is the main street that runs in a northwest, southeast sort of direction. If I zoom in a little bit, the front entrance is just here, going into the atrium, and you can see the garden just here. Between the garden and the atrium is the study, and of course between the study and the atrium is the wooden partition. The length of the house runs along this road that runs parallel to the main road and parallel to the sea. And we're going to drop you just here so you can see what the House of the Wooden Partition look like. But before that, actually, let me just show you the plan of the house. Here is a plan of the House of the Wooden Partition. So here is the road or the street that runs parallel to the coastline from a northwest to southeast direction. One thing that you could see easily about the House of the Wooden Partition is that it's got a typical conventional house plan. In fact, if I cut off some of the excess, if you like, that may or may not be part of the house or relevant to the person who owns the house, you can see a little bit more why that is the case. A typical Roman house or domus, this sort of house is called a domus, can be identified by a atrium at the 1/3 point and a peristyle garden at a 2/3 point. More on these spaces later on as we do our tour through the building. From the atrium, which is recognizable by a marking on the plan that shows the impluvium, where water is collected, you can find smaller rooms such as the one marked D here, this space here, this space here, and you might argue this space here as well. Atrium will have a direct access to the entrance marked A in this plan, and often between the atrium and the peristyle garden is a study in the direct center between the two, and off to the side you may find a kitchen, which we cannot precisely identify on this plan, and some sort of dining room or living room area, which is here marked in F. So this is the space between the atrium and the peristyle. From the peristyle garden, often there are rooms coming out of it, small rooms that are similar to the one that we've seen in D and C, which serves a variety of different possible purposes. Bedroom, storage, possibly even kitchen, anything like that. In the case of this house, the peristyle garden also leads on to a dining room. The Romans in this house have an option of dining in this dining area or this, which researchers believe is more of a multi-purpose living room type area. This is a more enclosed space, so better in cooler conditions or perhaps when it's raining. Maybe this space will be used for more casual dining, whereas this is probably more set up for a more formal sort of dinner, and because it has direct eye line to the garden, maybe more suitable for a warmer summer climate. So here we have a plan of a typical Roman house with that 1/3 atrium position and 2/3 peristyle garden. What we can't see here is that there are second floor spaces as well, which are likely to include more of those rooms that we've mentioned coming out of those two spaces. So that might be accessed by the stairwell here, and as well as a stairwell just in this space here that you cannot see. This space in the top left corner would function as a shop, and it does have a shop. It is open to the street here. This space is also likely to function as a shop with the opening to the street as well. So in a moment we're going to take a tour through the house, and we're going to start from the entrance area here. We start at the front entrance, which is on the southeastern side of the house. You can see on either side of the entrances along the streets there are some benches jutting out from the wall. Perhaps they're for clients waiting to be seen by their patrons to wait comfortably, or they might just be for any citizens of Herculaneum to rest their weary feet. You can see that there is a first floor just above the ground floor at the front of the building where smaller rooms might be, and they might be used for a variety of different purposes. Right, we're not going to be tempted by the shop just to the left of the front door. Let's make a quick entry into the house and see what it's like inside. What's clear is that a passerby can, assuming the front door is open, see right through into the atrium. And if the wooden partition is open, they can see right through the study too, into the peristyle garden. And if someone were sitting on the bench in front of the impluvium, they'd be on show. Perhaps it shows that they're happy to chat. Maybe that person's just curious of the world outside. There are several spaces or small rooms, recesses even, along the side of the atrium. Which of those English words you choose often just depend on whether there's a narrow or wide opening to them. And they are multi-purpose really, but in one of the rooms a wooden bed frame is preserved, so we can be pretty sure that it was used as a bedroom. And there isn't really much space because Romans just used a room to sleep in when they need to sleep. Maybe some space for a few private belongings, definitely a space for a lamp. It'll be slightly decorated, but that's all. And here is the study, or the tablinum to the Romans. This is the place where the master of the house would have received guests, perhaps important business contacts discussing business, and would have carried out work. You can see that it is richly decorated. You can still see the remnants of the fresco painted to imitate panels all around the side wall, as well as the white mosaic floor with a black border. The atrium would have been quite a nice place to sit in. The walls around are painted so that it's like it's divided into panels. The floor is slightly decorated. If you're in this space, you can look out into the main street outside, but it still feels secure as if you're in your own private space. The clear line of sight from the front door to the peristyle also allows for wind to travel through, with the opening on the roof of the atrium, the opening called the confluvium, also allowing another source of ventilation. Not just of air actually, it allows for water to come through too, feeding the fountain, probably alongside a municipal water supply system, making it quite refreshing to be within the space. Right, let's talk about the wooden partition, because that's what makes this house so special and give it its name. There are 3 parts to this wooden partition. Unfortunately, the middle part's been hacked through by the early excavators, who wasn't that bothered about hacking through things like this. They just want treasures. So we have 2 parts of this sliding wooden partition remaining, made of wood, of course, but with fixtures that are made of bronze. These fixtures include hinges and lamp holders, which are in the form of a ship's figurehead. The wooden panels on these doors will have been beautifully decorated, and they give the owner of the house a choice of whether they want to work in some form of privacy or whether they want to be on show. Coming to the back of the house, in this shot you can see the low wall in the distance with the colonnade area to the left of that low wall and the peristyle garden to the right. Sadly, as you can see from glimpses of the bar that was between that doorway, we were not able to visit the area around the peristyle garden. So let me use this slightly rotated image from Google map to show you what the back of the house was like. We were looking in this direction through this gap into the peristyle earlier, and this is the peristyle garden. If you remember, or if you don't, just move back a little bit in this video, you could see the back of the tablinum just here with those more modern doors. So the colonnade runs like this along the around the peristyle, I should say, and where you couldn't have seen is this area, which we think is the summer dining room. The triclinium is the word for dining room for the Romans. We assume that this doorway might be available, and maybe this corner space, which is the shop, would have been owned by the owner. We're not sure. Either way, being in the corner of 2 streets probably would serve your business quite well. This could well be a bar of some sort. And just to show you as well, there's an access to the first floor here. There's probably floors above the back of the building, just as there were at the front, but in any case that's not survived. So here is my quick run through of the House of the Wooden Partition in Herculaneum, an example of a typical domus style Roman house with a unique wooden partition that survived the eruption